How's it going there, YouTube? Uncat Basher here with VGS, and right here is the opening cutscene for a little game called Dark Souls. Now this game just came out on the PC. It's actually been out on the Xbox and the PS3 for a while now, but I decided to pick it up for a second time so I could see all the awesome new content they added for the PC version. Now this game is known for being harsh and unforgiving. It's also known to be one of the best RPG experiences of all time. At least, that's my opinion. So I thought I'd use my experience with the game to create a little guide for any of the newer PC players out there that might be having a little trouble getting into the game. In this guide, I'm going to show you how to get some weapons, armors, and other awesome items fairly early in the game. I'll also throw some tips and tricks your way. So with the introduction out of the way, we're going to start at the very beginning with like most RPGs, you're given a choice what class you want to pick in Dark Souls, and you might ask which one is the best class. My answer for that is the Pyromancer. And the reason for this is because at the start of the game, you're given a spell called Fireball and a weapon called Pyromancy Flame. The Pyromancy Flame is a catalyst that a Pyromancer uses to cast his spells, and their spells are vicious. They also require no stats to learn, making Pyromancy the easiest magic to obtain in this game. In the beginning of the game, your Pyromancer will pretty much rip through anything. And when I say anything, I really do mean anything. Look at this boss battle. I jump down on his head, hop off, and pretty much demolish him using my Pyromancy Flame. Look at the amount of health that these fireballs are taking away from this boss. You're not going to get this kind of damage with any other hack and slash class in the beginning of the game. On top of the Fireball spell and the Pyromancy Flame, you're also getting a weapon called the Hand Axe. This Hand Axe is actually pretty good. It does a decent amount of damage, you can wield it with one hand, and it's pretty fast as well. In my opinion, if there was an easy mode in Dark Souls, it would be choosing the Pyromancer as your class. But one thing that you should always do when making a character is to choose the Master Key as your gift. What the Master Key does is it allows you to open up doors throughout the game that often lead to shortcuts or some pretty awesome items. And you'll see that later on we will be needing it. On a quick side note, if you choose the Thief as your class, you'll automatically be given a Master Key. So if you do choose the Thief, you can choose a different gift if you want to. After you get out of the Undead Asylum, which is pretty much the tutorial for this game, you're going to find yourself in a place called Firelink Shrine. In this place, there's actually a couple weapons really close by that you can grab that you should be able to wield if you have the right stats. The first of these weapons is the Morning Star. You can find these by running up some stairs, running past that fat guy, and jumping down this elevator shaft. It looks like you're going to die, but trust me, you're not going to. After you jump down, head down the hallway, and hop out one more time. Here will be 3 chests. In one of the chests, you're going to find a Morning Star and a Talisman. The Morning Star might not be that much better than what you got in the tutorial, but what it does have is bleeding damage. I'll explain bleeding damage later, and it definitely is going to come in handy, so keep that Morning Star around. The Talisman you picked up acts the same way the Pyromancy Flame does, except instead of casting Pyromancies, it allows you to cast Miracles. Miracles are spells that often aid the player instead of being an offensive weapon. Later in the game though, there will be miracles that can damage enemies. If you want to buy some miracles early in the game, go back to that fat guy you passed before. After you join his covenant, he'll sell you some miracles for a pretty low price. Just make sure before you buy them that your faith stat is high enough to actually use the miracle. After picking up the Morning Star and the Talisman, there's 2 more weapons that you can get that are really close to Firelink Shrine. To get to these weapons, you're going to want to head up these stairs, go through this mausoleum thing that's full of water, head back outside, go down into the graveyard, and just keep running straight. This graveyard is full of skeletons that are far too difficult for you to fight right now, so your best bet is to just sprint right through and try your hardest not to get hit. Over here you're going to find the Winged Spear and, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but the Zweihander. After you pick these up, don't stop running, because there's going to be a horde of skeletons behind you, and they're going to try their hardest to make sure you don't make it out of there alive. The Winged Spear is a pretty decent polearm weapon that requires pretty low stats to use, and it's great at keeping enemies at a distance. The Zweihander, and I'm still not sure if I'm saying that right, is a huge sword. It requires 24 strength to use, so odds are if you haven't been pouring all of your souls into your strength stat, you might not be able to use it for a while. But it's still a massive sword that does a lot of damage, and it's also got pretty good range on top of that. The Uchigatana is a cool looking katana type sword that you can find right in the beginning of the game. The reason you might have missed it is because it's actually hiding in plain sight. Once you make your way out of Firelink Shrine, the first place that you should wind up is the Undead Berg. This bonfire right here should be the first one that you find in this area. Once you're done resting up, head back out the doorway and go down the stairs. Once you're done dealing with the soldiers in your way, make your way across this bridge. On the other side of the bridge, you're going to be greeted by two spearmen. These guys are pretty much one of the most annoying enemies in the game because they sit there and wait for you to put your shield down just so that they can stab you in your face. The best way to get rid of these guys is when they have their shield up, run up and give them a kick. Once you give them the kick, they'll be stunned for a short time and you can really just hack them to pieces. Once you're done taking care of the spearmen, hop down these stairs and continue through the doorway on the bottom. On the other side of the door, you're going to be greeted by a creepy looking guy sitting on the ground. This guy's actually a shop. But before you go on to the next part, it's probably a good idea to buy two items from him. Those two items are the bottomless box and the orange soapstone. It's also a good idea to buy a good amount of bolts and arrows from this guy, just to be prepared for later. I would recommend getting 150 arrows. At this point you might be wondering, where the hell is the Uchigatana? Well, this guy actually has the Uchigatana. You have to kill him in order to get it. But one important note is if you're planning on being an archer, you should probably leave him alive for a little bit longer. He's your only source of arrows until you meet Andre the Blacksmith later on. The Uchigatana is a pretty awesome sword. It has great range, it's quick, it has awesome attack, and it upgrades like a champion. Not to mention you look like a badass when using it. The light crossbow is one of the first ranged weapons that you can find in this game. If you're lucky enough, you can actually find one off the dead body of one of the undead bowmen. But you can also find one sitting on the ground in one specific spot in the beginning of the game. Start in the area right outside where you found the shopkeeper in the Uchigatana tutorial. From there, head down this hallway and take a left, then head down the stairs. In front of you should be 4 pretty weak enemies, but don't get overconfident, this is Dark Souls we're talking about. These guys have a pretty long lunge and stun attack. The last thing you want is to be stunned in between 3 or 4 of them. After taking them out, just head straight and go up the ladder. After getting to the roof, look across and down. You can see an open doorway. What you're going to want to do in this part is back up all the way to the back edge of the roof, so you can get a running start. Then run straight and jump. After you land, go straight, take a left up the stairs, take a right, then another right. On the end of the walkway should be a dead body, and that's where you'll find the light crossbow. Darkroot Basin is a forest area that you'll find later in the game, but there's actually a quick way of getting to it, and all the items in the area as well. To find the shortcut, start out on the bonfire that we were at before. When you get to this bridge, sprint across. If you don't, you'll get hit by a barrage of fire bombs. Keep making your way through the area, and eventually you'll end up at this staircase. It's not shown here, but at the top of this staircase, there's going to be a guy who kicks a flaming barrel down on top of you. Remember that master key I told you to get earlier? Well, here's one place you can use it. Move to this door and open it. After opening the door, just keep moving down. Now this part's going to get a little bit tricky. This is the first time you're going to see Havel. He guards this area, and he is a freaking beast. He's almost impossible to kill right now, and he wields a dragon's tooth. How badass is that? When you first see Havel, he's going to attack you immediately. The best thing to do is to make him follow you up one flight of stairs. Once he gets up there, hop down behind him and run for your goddamn life. If he hits you one time, you are done. Once you dodge Havel, run down as fast as you can and open the door using the master key. He won't follow you outside this dungeon, so you're pretty much safe as soon as your feet hit grass. Welcome to Darkroot Basin. In this game, stamina allows you to do everything. That includes attacking, blocking, rolling, jumping, and running. Yeah, pretty much everything. The grass crest shield has a special effect on it. When you wear it, it makes your stamina increase faster. I found this item incredibly useful, and it's helped me avoid death countless times. To find the shield, start off where you exited Havel's dungeon. Keep to the left, but obviously try to avoid falling off the cliff. Eventually you'll find a set of 3 short ramps that lead to an item down below. That's where the shield is. But of course, this being Dark Souls, it can't be that easy. You're gonna have to fight a Black Knight who's guarding the way. The best tactic for killing this guy is to lead him up to a more open area, somewhere where you can get around him. I wish I could show you an epic video of me battling this guy to the death, but unfortunately I backed up right off of a cliff, and he decided to follow me. But screw it, whatever works, I guess. One important note with the Black Knights is that they're a unique enemy in the world. Once they're dead for good. Once you kill the Black Knight, head back down the ramps and claim your prize. Here's a comparison shot. This little boost might not look like much, but trust me, it helps out a lot during intense battles. After you're done getting the shield, turn around and run straight. There should be a cave to your left. If you continue down this cave, you'll find a bonfire. This is a great checkpoint to have in Darkroot Basin, because as of right now, if you die, it'll send you all the way back to Undead Burg. After you're done activating the bonfire, exit the cave and turn right. Once you get to this area, keep on heading up. Once you get to the top, you're going to find this area. Instead of going up again, just continue straight across this ledge. Hop down, and on that body, you're going to find a longbow and a full set of leather armor. The leather armor might not give you as much protection as some of the metal armors, but it is lighter. Because of this, it'll allow you to roll and move faster. The knight's armor is a pretty good armor set. It's got decent defense, and it's pretty light when compared to some of the other metal armors. But if you chose the knight as your character class, don't bother going for this. You should already be wearing the set. To find the knight's armor set, head back down to the ground floor of Darkroot Basin. Keep running forward. You should start seeing trees and these big creatures made of crystal. The crystal creatures aren't very hard to dodge, but unfortunately, they're not what you should be worrying about. In the background, there's going to be a very large Hydra that's trying to shoot watery beams of death at you. These things hit hard, so try to avoid them as much as possible. You could probably survive 1 hit, but most likely 2 will take you down. Keep running, and on the shore you'll find a dead body. On this dead body is the knight's armor set. Once you get the armor, just run. There's no point in trying to fight the Hydra this early in the game. Try to live to fight another day. Doing this may take you a few tries. Hopefully you took my advice and rested at that bonfire I showed earlier. The Wolf Ring's ability is that it boosts the player's poise. What this means is it makes it less likely for the player to be stunned by an enemy's attack. To find the Wolf Ring, keep making your way up the ledges in Darkroot Basin. Keep going up, and eventually you'll make it to the top. You'll find this area with a small pool of water on the ground. Once you reach this area, take a right. In your way are going to be these tree creatures. I found the best way of killing these guys is to get their back towards a cliff. After that, just give them 1 kick and they'll fall to their death. Keep on fighting your way forward, and eventually you'll wind up in this area. You see that wall over there? It's actually hiding a bonfire. Hit it 1 time, and there it is. From this bonfire, go straight past the door and to the left. Continue down this path until you reach a fog wall, then step through. Once you're through, immediately go to the right. You'll find this big tree in your way. This tree is actually a creature, and it has a lot of health. Just keep hacking away at it, and eventually it'll die. Once the tree is out of your way, continue down the path it was blocking. Eventually you'll find the entrance to the staircase. Start heading up. At the top of the staircase, you're going to find this iron golem. These guys are pretty tough, so it's best to just avoid them for now. Continue forward until you find a dead body. Take the ring off the body and quickly jump across the cavern and land safely on the other side. Here's a difference that the wolf ring makes. Without it, once you get hit, you're stunned and left vulnerable. With the wolf ring equipped, those same attacks won't even make you flinch. You'll be able to take as many hits as you want and be able to fight through it. To find the Partizan and the Elite Knight armor, start back at the bonfire that we just discovered. Again, continue straight and take a left down the trail. Keep going until you eventually reach this open area. Cling to the left wall and keep going until you see this side path. Once you go in, you should see an item on a dead body. Behind the item, there's a camouflage snake on the tree. Hit it before you get too close. Turn around quickly because the tree has come out of the ground and it's trying to sneak up on you. Once the tree is dead, pick the Partizan up off the dead body. The Partizan is a pretty basic spear. There's nothing really special about it, but it's something different if you want to try it out. If you want to find the elite armor set, head back to the path that led you in. From there, turn around and you should see the item in the distance in between some trees. What you're going to want to do is run straight towards it without stopping. Pick up the armor and immediately run the other way. These iron golems on the ground are really slow getting up, so you shouldn't have a problem getting in and out. Each equipable item in Dark Souls has its own weight. The higher the weight, the slower your character will be. If you want your character to be fast, choose armors with lower weights. If you want your character to be more defensive, usually you're going to be choosing armors with higher weights. I usually mix and match these armor types. I like to keep it light enough where I can roll, but at the same time I want to make sure that I have decent enough defense stats. And now I present to you the Drake Sword, aka the Fun Killer. Now the reason I call this sword the Fun Killer is because it requires so little stats to use, and it's so goddamn powerful, you'll be one-shotting most normal enemies until halfway through this game. And you'll probably be killing most bosses until they even have a chance to fight back. The reason Dark Souls is so fun is because it keeps challenging the player. You just keep trying and trying until eventually you overcome every challenge this game throws at you. But if you don't have to try anymore, then honestly, what the hell is the point of even playing? That being said, now I'm going to show you how to get the damn thing. To find the Drake Sword, start out at the first bonfire in the Undead Burg. From there, progress through the area until you get to this point. This time, instead of going through the door, we're going to head left and go up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, you're going to find a fog wall. Behind the wall is a boss named the Taurus demon. As far as bosses go, he's not too difficult. I'll show you some tips and tricks that'll help you kill him easily. Once you head through the fog, immediately turn right and climb a ladder. On the top of the ladder are going to be 2 undead archers. If you don't kill them now, they're going to be shooting you during the boss fight, and you definitely don't want that. If you have any, consider buffing your weapon with lightning damage using gold pine resin. It's not really needed, but a little extra damage can't hurt. Once the archers are dead, head back down the ladder and continue across the wall. When you get close to the other side, the Taurus demon will jump down and immediately start chasing you. When it does, turn around and sprint back to that ladder. Once you make it to the top of the ladder, the Taurus demon should stop and stare up at you. Take that opportunity to jump off the ledge and slash down on his head. If you pull this off, it should do a huge amount of damage, making this boss battle very easy. And if you're lucky, you'll jump off next to the ladder where you can climb up and do it again. And if you're not so lucky, a good secondary tactic is to use fire bombs if you have them. When fighting the Taurus demon on equal ground, it's a good idea to keep your shield up, be ready to dodge at all times, and avoid ledges. If you get too close to a ledge and he hits you, you will fly off and die instantly. When the Taurus demon is dead, spin around and head back towards the area where he jumped down in front of you. Keep moving forward and eventually you'll wind up in this bridge area. This bridge is guarded by a dragon who likes to shoot fire at you. What you're going to want to do is sprint as fast as you can across, avoid all the enemies, and head down a staircase on your right. If you're lucky, you only get hit once. If you're really lucky, you won't get hit at all. Once you make your way under the bridge, head straight and through the door. Go down the stairs and kick the ladder down. This actually leads to the bonfire that we started at. It makes for a pretty good shortcut. Now head back up into the bridge and go through the other door. If you move to the right, you should see the dragon's tail hanging down. Now equip your longbow and start shooting the dragon's tail. This can get a little bit tricky and might take a while, so hopefully you bought enough arrows from the undead merchant. Eventually, after you've hit him enough, his tail will explode and you'll automatically pick up the Drake Sword. As I said before, the Drake Sword is ridiculously powerful and easy to equip. You'll be one-shotting almost every enemy in the beginning of this game. The Drake Sword has a special attack. If you hold it in both hands and use its power attack, you'll raise it in the air and throw some kind of explosive energy at them. So not only is the sword really good for close range battle, it also excels in long range battle. But again, at least in the beginning, I wouldn't recommend using this sword. It really makes the game extremely easy and not really that much fun to play. Remember that big guy named Havel that I told you to avoid at all costs earlier on? Well, guess what? Now we're gonna fight him. He drops a ring called Havel's Ring, which is honestly one of the most useful items in the game. What it does is boost your maximum equipment load, and like the other items I've shown so far, you can get it right in the beginning. If you don't remember where Havel is, head back to the area right before Taurus Demon and open this door using the Master Key. Now the most important thing to know about fighting Havel is that he will fuck you up. Yeah, he's a dick. There is a reason that I put Havel's Ring last in the guide, and that's because you're probably going to need most of the items that I've showed you how to get so far just to stand a chance against him. Havel has two fighting stances. One will be with both his shield and his weapon out at the same time. When he's doing this, you might actually get lucky and survive a hit. His other stance is holding his weapon with both hands. You should consider this danger mode. When he's doing this, his attacks will do way more damage and they become way more unpredictable, so be careful and dodge his attacks at all costs. Now let's talk about doing damage. Havel's big stone armor and shield make it really difficult to put a dent in his health. Remember that Morning Star that I told you to keep around earlier? Well, here's where it's going to come in handy. The Morning Star has a bleeding damage effect on it. That means if you hit an enemy with a weapon over and over, eventually you'll build up his bleed meter and do a huge amount of damage. So what I recommend is equipping the Morning Star, getting behind Havel, and performing a backstab. Before you can get up, circle around and do it to him again. If you do this to him enough times, eventually you'll hit that critical strike and demolish his health. With Havel finally dead, you can pick up his ring. I mentioned before what this ring does is it boosts your maximum equipment load. The reason this is so awesome is because it allows you to move fast while equipping heavier armors and weapons. So it eliminates that decision of making your character fast or with a lot of defense, because with this ring on, you can be both. So this is the end of the guide, but let's do a quick recap. By now you should have a slew of different weapon types that you can play with and get used to. Find a weapon style that you have fun with and keep using it. Eventually you'll get to a point where you're able to time your attacks perfectly, and nothing will be able to touch you. You should also have 3 or 4 armor sets that you can mix and match. Remember your character's weight. If you want to be faster, use a lower weight. If you want to be more defensive, use a higher weight. And on top of the weapons and armors, I've also shown you how to get some extremely helpful random items, like the Wolf Ring, Havel's Ring, and the Grass Crest Shield. So what your character has become is an arsenal of weapons and armor that can't become stunned, over encumbered, or tired. That's what I call overpowered. And on a side note, I was able to do all this at level 14 or lower. Eventually, once you get further in the game, you're going to find items that are going to replace the ones that I've showed you how to get. But hopefully this guide will help any of the newer players out there get used to the game and give you some pretty badass equipment to start out. If this guide helped you out in any way, please rate, comment, or subscribe. And check out our channel if you want to laugh. Again, this is Uncapped Basher with VGS, and have fun conquering one of the most fun, satisfying, and difficult video game experiences of all time, Dark Souls.